Randy, could you have Chris admit people to the waiting room? Or he can hear me. Nicole Boyd,
Here.
Cindy Garrity. Here. Esme Martinson,
Here.
Magdalene Dale,
Here.
Sarah Trudeau,
Here.
Dee Sweet. Here. Kylie Vagnus.
Here. We have quorum. Thank you. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Linda, I'm looking for a confirmation of our meeting posting.
I can confirm that tonight's meeting has been posted at all designated locations.
Thank you. 1.5, we need an approval of our agenda board.
Motion approved.
A second.
We have a motion by Cindy, a second by Esme. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. 1.6, public comments. We don't have any in this room at the school district. Is there anyone on the virtual line that would like to give public comment? If so, could you turn your camera on, please? If not, we will move on to approval of meeting minutes, June 21st, 2021.
Motion to approve.
I'll second. We have a motion by Esme and a second by Kylie. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. 2.1 on our agenda this evening, LaPointe 4K presentation. We do have Lauren Schuppe in the room with us. If you would go to the microphone, please. Sure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lauren, and I'm the library director over in LaPointe. I'm here to just talk a little bit about the Island 4K students, and give a little background on what education opportunities have been available for them, and sort of requests and support moving forward as to the 4K student situation that we have. Traditionally, the availability for 4K education for Island children is supported by the Bayfield Family Forum Head Start for both 3K and 4K. And until the school district, brought all 4K on, and the district, it was kind of the parents' responsibility to figure out how we were going to get our kids over to to that opportunity in Bayfield, since we didn't have any on-island options at that time. So once the school district picked up the support of 4K, that brought with it the perks of being a part of the school district. So busing and support on the ferry as far as monitoring was concerned. But that still left the 3K students that were coming over to be supported by their parents or caretakers to essentially get them to the same location that the 4K students were going to. Last year, well, in the spring of 2020, as you all know, things changed really rapidly, and Island parents weren't really sure if there was going to be education opportunities for their 3K and 4K students, as with many people. But the library saw an opportunity to provide support on Island for those kids so they could still be prepared and ready for future learning. So we stepped in, and we luckily had an on-island teacher, Debbie Knopf, who many of you may know, but worked for Family Forum for many years and was an early childhood education professional and teacher and certified. So we had the opportunity to work with her and figure out if we could create a little learners program on island safely and, you know, provide at least some support for that age of child. We ended up partnering with St. John's of UCC, which is a church over on the island, and the church council agreed to provide the basement space for Deb to transform into a learning space for the kids. So we were able to pull off a Tuesday, Thursday program for 4 of the 4K eligible students. And by doing that, we sort of addressed, and I laid it out in this document, but we really gained a lot of support from families and relief from that sort of daily travel that had been going on for so long to Bayfield, to and from, especially for 3 and 4-year-olds, and then also bridge that gap of some 4-year-olds having the monitor support on the boat versus the 3K students who were still having to ride in parents' cars and things to go to the same destination. And then also in the light of COVID, keeping the kids safe and with lower exposure. So it was a successful program. We did 2 8-week sessions that kept the kids sort of in line with being able to be prepared, you know, in a learning space. And Deb, as you can see, I included in this document as well, her proposal for the program that I had presented and was approved by the library board. So it definitely follows, typical curriculum appropriate for that age group. And moving forward, just getting a lot of feedback from the parents and the hurdles that they typically have to overcome just to get those opportunities for their kids. The library decided that we would like to continue and have enough children to support a program on island where we wouldn't have to, be sending those kids over on the boat every day. That got me to thinking, though, that if we're able to support the 3K kids that we have, that perhaps there's a way with the resources that we could also support the 4K kids on island as well. The island, typically a lot of the Bayfield School District children don't come over until 6th grade, 5th or 6th grade. So they're.
Nicole, the last line in the first page.
Did you have a question? Or?
Just about the number of kids.
Oh, right, yeah. So there's 8 kids total. 4 of them are 4K eligible, and the other 4 are 3K. So that, that's 8 total children that could potentially benefit from us continuing this program, and also creating a lot more support closer to home for those families with those children on island. So I kind of outlined it here, but my request would be, the library is prepared to move forward, kind of keeping in line with the same way that we functioned last year, and St. John's is open to hosting the program. Of course, none of, those contracts and things aren't in place yet, but that's why I'm here to sort of gain support of the school district for the 4K portion of things. What that would mean is that the 4 children that are eligible for 4K would not be riding the ferry to and from Bayfield Head Start for, I believe they're meeting 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 7 hours a day. That would eliminate those ferry trips for those children. But what I'm requesting is that, maybe there's some way that the school district could help either financially support or material support the learning on the island side. Since the library is kind of fully supporting the 3K portion, that maybe there's some partnering that we could do to help support those 4K kids. And as kind of outlined here, some of the challenges, as already mentioned, but the real challenge is the ferry travel for kids that are 3 and 4 years old. It's not just about getting on a boat each day both ways, but you have to walk on the boat in all kinds of weather conditions and navigate all of their belongings and backpacks and gear, just like we expect middle schoolers to do. And it's a different mental capacity for a 3 and 4 year old to be able to maneuver that than it is a 13-year-old. And a lot of the parents of these kids have expressed that they would opt out of sending their kids to Bayfield because of that being a barrier. And that accessibility is not what, you know, the families really want to put their 3 and 4 year olds in that situation. And aside from that, you know, as mentioned, the 3K kids don't have the opportunity to have that built-in monitor. So it falls on the shoulders of the parents to decide if they're going to take days off of work or hire somebody to take their children on the boat. Or, you know, luckily some families have family members that can take on that responsibility. But those are choices that all those families have to make if it's worth it for them to give their kids that educational experience. So with the library having the capacity to be able to kind of pull together these resources, I think it's a great way to be able to provide for these families without having to, you know, create that risk of traveling across the water every day. It also eliminates any kind of distance emergencies that can happen when your child is, you know, across the water and weather happens or a family emergency happens. Then we're not trying to navigate other adults taking care of kind of the youngest members of our community until they can, you know, get to them. The benefits, of course, as mentioned a little bit to the families, is having that security, knowing that their kids are, you know, in their community and within reach of them. Also, just the travel time. I mean, you're adding an hour on each end of the school day, and with an extended Bayfield Head Start day, that ends up being a 9-hour day for some of those kids, which at 3 and 4 years old is pretty intense, especially when you're not with your parents or caregivers. The benefit for the school district is that there would be reduced ferry fees for those, you know, kids riding round trip to school. There would also not need to be, and I know that this has changed over the years, but there wouldn't need to be a 4K bus specifically going to Head Start for them on the Bayfield side. I know that they weren't sharing buses with the middle school kids, but maybe that has changed. Did they ride together? Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if that had changed over time or not. But other benefits would, you know, is obviously creating partnerships with the library and with St. John's in the same way that you have a partnership with Family Forum and in both Redcliffe and Bayfield. And so it's kind of, you know, in a way could be considered programming partner in the same ways that you know, partner with those communities in Bayfield and Redcliffe. And then, you know, also you get to maintain that student enrollment if we can figure out a way to partner in providing for those 4K students, then they still get to be a part of the district and a part of enrollment numbers and kind of the culture of walking into their next years in school. Yeah, and basically I think that in the end we're really essentially just trying to figure out how we can continue the program that we've been doing with a little support from the district financially to help out that the 4K kids. We haven't, you know, I've had a couple of meetings now with Mike and Beth, and we've spoke with Jeannie and Kelly at Family Forum in Bayfield to see if there was any potential way that they could help support the island. But, and I'm not sure if many of you know, but the real problem in early childhood education is finding the teachers that are certified to be able to teach that age group, which is pretty few and far between.
Emergency clause, or just to be clear, the community eligibility provision is working with an actual daycare provider or a for-care provider.
Yep.
So if, I mean, if the library is not going to provide it, you know, the library enforcement.
Right, well, from my understanding is that if Debbie Knopf is an employee of the district,
So we can't have that. An employee has to be a partner.
It would still be a community-based site. That's what the relationship is with Bayfield Family Forum and Red Cliff, is a
okay.
contract with those agencies
So
that are
essentially, St.
licensed.
John's would have to be certified as a childcare.
You'd have to get
provider.
licensed, yeah.
Okay. And it has been in the past. So that space was used for preschool for many years and also a daycare. So I don't think getting that certification is too far out of, yeah, too far out of the question. It's been both, that's why I say that. So, but otherwise, it could be on site at the LaPointe Elementary as well, right?
No, isn't that
Yeah, it wouldn't be a community-based site, it would just be the school district expanding 4K over to the island school.
Okay,
and we don't have that. We can't partner with people who have that certification.
right. So a partner, if we're talking about a partnership, but if it wasn't a partnership and it was just included extension in, you know, within that space.
That would be different than that. That wouldn't be anything about community provision that we are part of.
Okay, but what if it wasn't considered that and it was just allowable under expanding what, you know, the Bayfield, the LaPointe school is able to do?
Through 4K, definitely. I don't know that the
Yeah,
district is
3K,
interested in
no,
3K
exactly.
at this stage, and
No, and I
I mean-
understand that because that's not something that you offer in either of the other two communities. But basically, you know.
but it's not needed. So, but if it's needed on the island, that's a different assessment.
Mhm.
So I have a question about, so Mike was going to talk to Bayfield Family Forum.
Yeah.
And where did that conversation go? They just said they don't have the staff?
They don't have the capacity to offer help because basically what it comes down to is it requires 2.5 to 3.5 hours of daily contact with a 4K certified teacher to qualify for that programming.
And
So
is Deb certified for 4K?
She is eligible to get an emergency license to provide for 4K learning.
So all we provide for the other partners is $500 a year.
Mhm.
The partners put up, you know, they put money in this,
Yeah,
in the equation.
Absolutely. I mean, in the library, you know, we footed the bill last year and we're prepared to do that. But if, you know, we have 4 students and now we're talking about 8, that's correct. Yeah. But that's a bit, you know, I mean, that's half the program. So
You're
I
talking
mean,
3 hours? That's it? 3
it's
hours a day?
2.5 to 3.5 hours daily that's required for the 4K contact, which is why the Bayfield Family Forum was like, there's no way in one day that we could send somebody from our facility over to the island and then still be providing for their site for the same amount of time.
Were they willing to hire Debbie if she was licensed as an employee through them?
That's an interesting.
That seems like the most,
But it was still not.
Resolve like all the licensing stuff. Like their agency would still be the party, I think,
And
that
she
we would
would
have to have
still-
like a subcontract with through Family Forum.
okay.
Like they would
Could
still
I-
be a party.
Could I interject as well? In the last meeting that we had, there was a discussion or the possibility of having a Family Forum licensed 4K teacher connecting via Zoom if Debbie was in person with the students. And that was part of our out of the box thinking in that last meeting. And Mike, jump in if I'm not getting this correct, or Lauren too, that was a potential option to sort of bridge that gap until to solve the solution, or to bridge the gap until there was a 4K licensed teacher available. And the woman who is the teacher at Family Forum had shared that they had a teacher who was really, really good with Zoom and connecting with families. Again, it's not ideal if it's only a Zoom teacher with students in a totally different location, but the situation we're talking about is potentially then having Debbie there in person, working in tandem with a teacher to check the box that we're having engagement with a licensed teacher, and then moving forward in that way.
Yeah, and it, I mean, it also sounded like from Jeannie and Kelly that Deb does qualify for that emergency license. So that, I mean, that is kind of a big hurdle, and because there's not many people that qualify for that emergency license. So we are fortunate enough to have an on-island person that is eligible for that. So we wouldn't have to necessarily physically bring somebody over there for that portion. The partnership issue.
That's what I'm thinking.
We can't hear everybody when you're speaking if you don't have your mic on. Thank you.
I think if we partnered or had Debbie be the Family Forum employee, that would help us, because we have a contract with Family Forum, and it would just be like a regular student, one of their students.
Then would Family Forum need to contract with St. John's to rent the space? I don't know that a community-based contractor can contract out another community-based site.
If they're employees of theirs, they could.
I'm saying that we have a contract with Family Forum to provide a service at this site. They can't be subbing out their service.
I don't think it's for a certain site. It's just
Right,
for
that's
Yeah, it
students.
is.
important then.
It is for a certain site.
I don't think the contract says, I'm going to pull it up right now.
Well, I got Red Cliff's contract that says that.
You're looking at Red Cliff's contract?
Mm-hmm.
That might just be what we get to tonight, you guys, is that's
Yeah,
the
because
next
Family
step.
Forum has to be at the table for them
Yeah.
to have a real
The-
conversation.
The next step is to figure out the licensing of it being a site. So it sounds like I don't know if we need to have more discussion right now. I mean, that's really like the next point. And just if we
I
as a
have a
board
question.
support it, then go for it.
So when your kids are enrolled in Head Start,
Mhm.
your 3 and 4-year-old kids, they enroll in Family Forum, Head Start, and Bayfield, and they attend whatever regular schedule is provided, and you have to pay for them to come across the ferry?
The 3K kids, we do, yeah. So the 4K, no, because the district pays for them, and also, you know, the monitor that watches them. However, the monitor.
That's now that 4K is in the district.
Yeah, historically you paid for.
Yes.
So when Debbie was a teacher at Bayfield Family Forum and all your kids came over here to Bayfield,
We had essentially a parent cooperative that was each taking a day to bring the group of 4 or 5 kids over.
Well, and the ferry doesn't charge for the kids.
For island resident children of school age, they don't charge unless they're going to school, which then they charge
What?
the district.
oh, you mean in our school, but not Family Forum?
Correct. Yeah. So like,
Oh my God, you guys.
yeah.
Which
So-
is just kind of a wormhole, but let's just stick to
Well,
the
and-
big
yeah,
picture
so
right here,
basically the
because
way
we're gonna
that
get to
it-
ferry
So
later.
they don't pay.
But
to-
the students, no, we did not
The
have to
parents
pay
have to
for the
pay.
child, but we did have
And
to
the
pay
car.
for the chaperones and a car if a car went over, but a lot of, not a car every time.
And we had the same situation in the settlement. There was a time, sometimes it was bust 3K and 4K, and then sometimes it wasn't. And then once it was 4K in the district, and they said, oh, we can't come pick up Oscar, I said, no, you can. And we made an arrangement to figure it out. And so that isn't just an island issue with the transportation. 4K kind of helped give parents that support to say, no, we need transportation. This is a district program now, and
Yeah.
you can't say we're too far away.
Well, and that the 4K becoming a part of the district was a huge help. Like that definitely solidified them being able to be watched by a monitor and not have also another parent monitor. But again, it still didn't solve the problem of the 3K parents and children still needing their own separate monitor and vehicle because they also can't ride the district bus or anything.
Oh,
So
because
you-
they stopped busing for the 3K?
Because
Or for the
a while
3-year-olds?
There was no Head Start bus coming for the 3-year-olds. So it became this really complicated, like all 6 of these kids are going to the same school, but we have to have like 2 separate monitors and like a parent car to get them there. And so, and then, you know, if you chose or couldn't bring a vehicle, there was no interior space, and then you're walking the kids up to Head Start, which is like what happened sometimes. So, I mean, in all honesty, it was a huge leap forward. I think that the district supported 4K. I mean, for sure, that alleviated a lot of issues island side for those kids. But you know, and not that it's of your concern for the 3K kids, but on a whole, from our sort of opportunities for all of the island children in early education, it makes, you know, an ease and more sense that they're kind of collectively doing one thing versus having different places and things that they have to do.
So it sounds like getting Debbie or finding out if the St. John's site can be used and run by Family Forum through the Bayfield School.
But I'd probably prefer a direct contract with them because they're the community-based site and you contract with that community-based site
Right.
and then they provide all the stuff. They provide a licensed teacher.
Or finding out what it would take for St. John's to become a licensed preschool, not daycare, but preschool.
I
Yeah.
don't think you have to be a preschool.
Exploring one of the 2
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I just think trying to decide right now is
No.
wasting our time. But it's nice that there's possibly 2 options, and I'm glad you came, Lauren, and I totally hear what you're saying about wanting to have something for kids over there.
Just to let the board know as well, I did reach out to CISA to talk to some of their experts and talk to Sue Erickson. And I bounced a couple ideas off her and she's like, well, it's getting that licensed person in place because that's what the DPI is going to look for. So if Debbie is interested in pursuing that license, the emergency license is only good if she's going to pursue the rest of the licensure. So I did ask Sue Erickson, like how many students are most 4K programs serve, and she said she's never seen where one teacher would have less than 8 kids. So she was a little concerned about the 4 kids in 4K, that it probably wouldn't be feasible for someone to take on that for the amount of money that they would get out of the contract, that they probably couldn't pay that person. So her suggestion was to continue working with Family Forum. So it seems like that's probably our best bet, but there's multiple ways to get to the end here. And I think to get to the end is what we're looking for, is a way to keep those kids in their community and not have them come across on the ferry each day. So I'm willing and able to keep pursuing things with the parties that are involved. It's not going to happen real quick because there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So
I guess my only question, before we kind of dive into all these different options is, you mentioned that if there is 4K financial support, if we finally get to the point where there could be a community partnership, what does the financial support look like for each student? Did you say $3,500 a year? Or what, I'm sorry? Per student, yeah, okay. And that's just good for me to know moving forward, because if it's a situation where, you know, I know there has to be a lot in place for this to work, and if it doesn't, and the library just decides to continue with its 3K programming and some of those 4K students join in, but it's not supported by the district, then I just, you know, financially need to know what that looks like. So that answers my question.
So we can fund it for this year. Would we be guaranteed to have 4 students for next year?
Yeah.
And the
so that's
year
why it
after,
kinda
and the
came
year
up as, like,
after?
This is projected for the next 4 years, that there will be that level of enrollment, because there's that level of children on the island right now. I mean, I can't say it'll continue. I can say for sure for 4 years, but beyond that, it's tough to know, you know, as far as families coming in, where we're at and this kind of thing. But yeah, so I wouldn't be approaching it if I didn't think we would at least have something sustaining it for a few years after. I'm sorry, what?
Start on the island, right?
No.
And no one's ever tried to get Head Start on the island?
Well, I think that's
No,
kinda
I
what
don't
we
think
were-
so. They used to do like cooperative daycares, but never Head Start. There's the home visits for the youngins until they go over at the 3 years old.
But 8 kids, that's like half the enrollment at Batesville.
Yeah.
8 kids, and that's all their kids, 3 and 4 year olds. So
mhm.
it might, you know, it might fool them. And so what are they interested in having an outreach site on the island?
Well, and
Head
Judy
Start, early
probably
Head
didn't
Start.
Necessarily, right now, it sounds like they are, you know, they have 18 enrolled, and they weren't too concerned about the 4K kids that, you know, essentially they have to accept every 4K child. So to them, I think they were kind of like, we would be at max capacity with your children if they were to go to that site. So I think they were kind of like, if they're not at our site, it may be okay. I mean,
But you're
one,
talking about the 3 year olds too.
2, yeah.
Mhm.
So
I mean, Mike and Beth, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the meeting that we had, they definitely, I wasn't getting the impression that they were concerned about not having their money.
And maybe not all of our 3-year-old, they might not all qualify.
Right.
I think some of those the parents
Oh,
of
for
those
big
3-year-olds do not qualify.
makes sense. Well,
Sorry, I
thanks.
didn't mean to
Thank you.
prolong it, but 4 students by 3,500, that's $14,000 a year. Probably not enough to pay for a space and Debbie for the year.
The space is free.
Free.
Well, it has been free. We
Okay.
have traditionally donated by the church, which I would.
Between Debbie and Family Forum or Debbie and the church, finding out who can support.
provide the licensure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, Lauren.
Moving on, 3.1, are there any future agenda items from any board members? Should we keep the 4K? We can keep it on the old business for next time. Beth?
Yes.
3.2, policy committee meeting.
We met, and everything is later on the agenda. Mostly we went over we'd already gone over the Neola policies once, and we just kind of did like a second, like clean up on those, but they're on the agenda for later. And then the handbooks and athletic policy are all, all the handbooks are on there later too, on the agenda. Finance committee?
We met and the committee discussed vouchers. The CPI coordinator position, I don't think we talked about that for long, right? That was, yeah. The LaPointe School meals, the LaPointe School fuel, and then milk for the entire district, and the ferry line contract and proposal is what we went over. And I believe all of those things are later on the agenda also.
Sounds good. District administrator report through 4.8 finance manager report, administrative reports. Board,
Motion to approve 4.1.
second. We have a motion by Cindy and a second by Magdalene. Are there any questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5.1 on our agenda, vouchers.
Motion to approve vouchers totaling $885,009.65 for the month of June 2021.
We have a motion by Sarah to approve and a second by Cindy. Could we have a roll call, please, Linda?
Nicole Boyd,
Yes.
Cindy Garrity.
Yes.
Sarah Trudeau,
Yes.
Magdalene Dale,
Yes.
Dee Sweet,
Yes.
Esme Martinson. Yes. Kylie Badnes.
Yes. Motion carries. 6.1 on our agenda, consider athletic staff resignation. Coach Boyd.
Motion to approve.
A second.
We have a motion by Cindy to approve, a second by Esme.
And congratulations, Chris Boyd,
Yeah.
Congratulations, Chairman.
Chairman.
I said Chairman Boyd for the first time today. It was exciting. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you for your service, Coach.
We'll see him around.
We'll see him as a ref, it sounds like.
Volunteer. He's a volunteer.
6.2, add crisis prevention intervention coordinator position to extracurricular salary schedule, first reading waive second. What is that position? It exists?
It doesn't right now, but somebody has been doing it, Pat King. So we'd like to make it a paid position because he is required to be licensed, and then he also does the training with staff. And it's pretty intensive. It's like a week-long recertification that he has to go through.
And we talked about the wage, the compensation in the finance committee, I believe, but I don't think it's listed here.
No, it's in the handbook.
Yeah.
Click on the addendum schedule.
Right. It would just be the same as the RTI coordinator and PBIS coordinator.
So I would motion to approve the addition of the CPI coordinator to the extracurricular salary schedule. First reading, waive second.
Second.
We have a motion by Sarah and a second by Magdalene to add the CPI coordinator to extracurricular salary schedule. Could we have a roll call, please, Linda?
Esme Martinson,
Yes.
Cindy Garrity,
Yes.
Nicole Boyd,
Yes.
Kylie Badnes,
Yes.
Dee Sweet,
Yes.
Sarah Trudeau,
Yes.
Magdalene Dale.
Yes.
Motion carries. 6.3, 2021-2022 academic standards. The district must adopt, take action.
Motion to approve the 2021-22 academic standards as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Kylie to approve, a second by Esme. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 6.4, consider Neola Volume 30, number 1. With the exception of, there's 4 policies listed here.
So I actually think that policy 143.2, we were fine with approving as well.
But if there's anything that any of the board members saw in volume 30, number 1, if you were able to access it in drafts, I sent out information on how to access it, and I sent out information on a couple different policies that we had kind of flagged as wanting some discussion, but if there's anything anybody wants to discuss with these policies or any others, we can. I mean, I think the 2430, 4213, and 8405, those are all tabled because they need to be reviewed by admin or Joel. So those would definitely be exceptions. But that first one, we don't have that in the draft thing though, the 0.21. The 143.2.
It's,
You
that's there.
have to go to draft first and then search. The one that says for the board. Okay, I see.
Is there anything particular you wanted to discuss with the full board on that one? 0143.2?
At our first meeting, I sent an email about this, that at the first policy meeting we had, looking at these policies, there was that one and the board member ethics that had a lot to do with just communication in general. And that I felt like we as a board just needed to have more communication about what is not only not permissible, but what is permissible communication. That was all.
I think that's a great point. I think that there's a lot in the WASB about it that I saw just from the first tutorial I ever, or webinar I ever watched about it, about communication. And I think maybe just reviewing that or even adding that. I don't know if I saw it on the agenda for the retreat, but I think the retreat might be a great place
That's what I was
to go over
proposing.
that. Yeah.
And then we'll get to it, but I think it might be on the agenda too.
Yeah, I think overall the policy committee felt fine with the policy, but wanted more discussion around communication norms as a board.
So were you guys looking at tabling the whole thing until later on, or?
No, I don't think that policy needs to be tabled.
Speaking of communicating, I'm sorry, but a reporter from the Ashland Daily Press contacted me. They said they also contacted Esme. They tried to contact Nicole about our mask policy. And I just told them I could talk to the board and call them tomorrow.
You could just refer to Beth.
Okay. He said he tried to call Beth also. I said, well, the superintendent's on vacation, right?
I did get the message from Randy, so I will try and contact, if I'm able to tomorrow, the press regarding, I believe it's over mask mandate, but
Yeah.
I'll keep you in the loop, the board in the loop on that.
Okay.
It sounded like it had to be done today. He was putting the article in the paper tomorrow.
Oh,
Well,
well.
so that's why I bring it up on this topic, because I was unaware. Okay, what do you do if press calls you as a school board member? Just no comment? I don't,
Just refer them to our superintendent.
refer them to the superintendent.
They have
Okay.
she should have all the knowledge for everything, and if she doesn't know it, then she bring that to us
Okay,
for discussion.
got it.
So we're looking for a motion here then?
A motion to approve Neola policies, volume 30, number 1, with the exception of policy 2430, policy 4213, and policy 8405.
Are you making that motion, Magdalene?
I think I did, yeah.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Magdalene and a second by Kylie to approve the policies except those three noted. You have those on record. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Oh, let me get back into the meeting now. Moving on. 6.5 on the agenda, consider policies related to employee handbook. So we did make an update on the social media one. That was a good conversation. The current, if you go to that policy, so it's 7544, Linda put the link in there, so that helps. And scroll down to where a lot of red starts, drafting note. We had option 1 selected, which said the district uses approved social media platform sites as interactive forms of communication. However, although the district approved social media platform sites are considered limited public forums, the district will not respond to or engage in dialogue about any comments received. And the committee felt that it wouldn't be interactive or helpful if we couldn't comment, and liked the wording of the second option better. The Neola rep was in attendance at the policy meeting, and he contributed to conversation on this item a lot, and also felt like it was a good decision to go with option 2. So that was one bigger change. Option 2 says that you can comment and then give some stipulations around what to be careful of in your commenting.
And Chris reviewed this.
Chris was not at the policy meeting. Or if he was on Zoom, I guess, supporting the policy meeting, but did not chime in any way.
He looked at it a while ago.
Yeah.
The same.
And
Same
we'll go with
policy.
it. Yeah. That note there about it being deleted during review with Chris Plansky and the policy committee, that is a note from 2020.
And the people who would be able to comment, because that's the biggest change, right? Is that someone would be able to comment. People who are able to comment are a very select few, according to, I think, Beth. Just some of the admin are able to comment on the Facebook.
I'll just read it from the policy. Employees' personal posts on the public platform sites are limited, restricted to matters of general public interest that are not related to the employee's specific employment and wholly unrelated to the employee's job responsibilities. Employees in admin positions are ordinarily not permitted to post personal comments on matters of general public interest because to do so could be misconstrued as board-sponsored speech. So it's not really limiting who can comment, it's limiting what the comments can be. So if they're personal comments versus just matters of general public interest. So Jeff gave an example. He had some stuff posted about athletics and somebody said, when does high school or when does basketball start? And he gave a date. Like that is reasonable. But if he was to comment, not until October, doesn't that stink or something, like that would be not, or even if you don't, yeah. So that was sort of the clarification. I don't know if that makes sense, but that it's reasonable to comment on matters of general public interest.
I think, as maybe your point, I understood Beth's comment to be that only a few people have access to the district, like social right, to be media. on the Yeah. Facebook page or to be on that page. Only certain people have access to be able to comment.
No, let me
No, but that's
clarify.
wrong to post. Everybody can comment, like a
Everybody
Right,
can comment, correct. It's
Post
a
as
handful
Facebook.
can post content, announcements, flyers, images, but everybody, as May said, is free to comment. And what Chris Petrito shared in that meeting was just to ride on the coattails of what Magdalene is discussing, is the importance of knowing what, as a district employee, what our comments what the parameters are for those. And that's a discussion that as an admin team is really important for us to have with our staff, to make certain that everybody is clear on what is okay to post in a comment and what is crossing that line.
And last year, crossing that line was one of the reasons that a lot of the social media came up. So, yeah.
I don't think people should be representing the district in their personal matter. Because so if we're saying we're gonna Facebook police, because we have a policy, and one week someone posts something that we may not agree with, and the other week they're posting, come to the basketball game on Thursday or the whatever. One's okay and one we may deem inappropriate, but they're representing the school in both. Ugh, it
Are you
just
speaking
sounds
of, like
yucky.
on their personal Facebook pages or?
Yeah, this isn't about people's personal pages. This is about the district's
This is about people
posts
using
and
their
being able to-
personal profile to make a comment.
No, it's not. That's not what the policy is
No.
about.
But it could be.
To make a
I mean, if
comment is
there's,
the
if
same
they are,
difference as posting your own, whether you're the originator or just an engager. If you're on your own profile, it's your engagement.
Okay, so my understanding is that this policy is in regards to how someone would be interacting as the district.
The Bayfield School District Facebook page.
Right. Not,
And
Yeah,
who,
so
what they can comment, just as
Right.
the Bayfield School District, not what the employees.
my understanding was that it wasn't allowing employees to just comment as employees on our district information.
That's what,
What
it
I
says.
understood it is, and so maybe I'm wrong. So what my understanding was that this was describing how the district could operate from district websites and controlled who was behind posting for those things.
No, that's already in place. This is saying if they want to make a comment, like if the school posts something and Jeff wants to make a comment, he would just
From
have
his personal page.
restrictions to say, as a school district employee, you can't cross this line. Option 1 says that the district will not respond to or engage in dialogue about any comments received. So the Facebook page has a post. Jeff had a post about sports. Somebody comments on there, hey, when does basketball start? If we have option 1, their comment is just hanging out there and nobody's responding to it. That's what the policy is stating.
Well, other people could comment, right, like, but not as
But not
the
as an
school.
authority figure. No
Right.
authority figure. No, it is saying that
The district will not respond to or engage. So does the district mean any employee?
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
very
and that's,
vague.
I think that's ridiculous that
Because I
like
took
we're
that
gonna
to
say,
mean
we're gonna
the
put this out
Bayfield
here as an
school.
interactive thing for good communication. But if you ask a question, don't expect an answer. Because if he can, or anybody, whoever sees it and knows can say, oh, it's March 12th. And then somebody's like, no, we had that meeting and it's this, like that is clear communication. I think to just shut down communication because you're scared that somebody might say something wrong. If somebody says something that's inappropriate, then you handle that situation. You don't say we can't communicate because somebody might say something inappropriate.
So I think, we chose option 2 because we wanted the district to have the option as an authority figure to communicate with the community.
Yeah, the district.
The district. Yeah. But the question, I guess, is, does that leave something else open for discussion for like if an employee?
What's stopping them right now? Just that policy that says you can't comment. There's nothing stopping them right now.
There's only so many people that can post as the school district.
Who
on that
are
list.
those
Right.
people?
Myself, Shelley Swanson.
Linda.
Who?
I don't think
Linda, Keely.
No, I think the policy was not being followed really, because the policy is saying that
the district will not respond or engage. And so if that's including employees, and Jeff asked that in the meeting, he was at the policy meeting and he said, hey, I answered this person's question. Should I have not done that? And I said, well, that's like, I would like it if we can change the policy so that that is allowed. I don't want him giving a clarifying response to be seen as not allowable. And so that was the reason for switching to
That doesn't
option
make any
2.
sense. Yeah, that
And-
doesn't make sense. And are you all managers of the district site so that you can post? But if people want, a community member wants to ask a question, they too can post, or how does that work? Okay,
They can
and,
comment.
Yes, they
and
can
so
comment.
then you all would respond in an official capacity
Correct.
on that Facebook
And
page.
it's as the school district of Bayfield, how it's set up, where
Okay.
Shelley can comment. And it looks like the school district of Bayfield is replying.
So if an employee had a clarifying response, they would go through one of you.
No, there's nothing stopping them from replying
Just-
also,
They would
Oh,
post as themselves.
right? But it
Mhm.
would be as themselves.
And personally,
But-
I don't feel like we need to limit that either. I think it can be the district, or it can be an employee, or it can be a community member. And if somebody posts, comments wrong information, then it gets corrected. And if somebody comments inappropriately, then that gets handled and dealt with. And we have a process and protocol for dealing
Yeah.
with that.
So this revision is just changing the policy from it saying that the school cannot interact in the comments to saying that the school can interact in the comments. And the Bayfield school, not an employee, not a parent, not the Bayfield school can
Officially,
interact in the
yeah.
comments officially. And that's it.
As long as it's neutral and it's factual and not
Right.
opinion based.
I don't want it to say the board's review of posted comments will be conducted because I'm not reviewing comments. I don't understand why. Is that just because it's the school's policy? It has to say it that way.
Does that mean all
Probably.
comments, or like if something's deemed inappropriate,
Yeah, you'll
it would
hear
be
about
brought
it.
to the board?
I think it's
It will definitely be brought up. That's not going to be ignored, right? I mean,
Or-
that's not going to be
or
overlooked.
it's
Someone's
the policy we set that the administration implements to say posted comments will be conducted in viewpoint neutral and consistent with laws.
Could we, because down below, we have the district administrator as the primary person maintaining the social media presence. Can we update that language to the district administrator would review?
Within Neola, we can't change the language. We just have like option 1 or option 2. But I think it is a good point that after we've selected option 2, then it does have that additional language about the district administrator maintaining the district's social media presence.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. It doesn't say the district board, it just says the district. Well. Oh, but later it says the board's review. Never mind. Linda, can you just ask Chris Petrito if we can?
Even
edit
that
that.
line, you guys, in option 2, the board's review of posted comments will be conducted in a viewpoint neutral manner and consistent with state and federal laws. So if we see something, we're not gonna police it based on our personal opinion. We're gonna police it based on a viewpoint neutral manner. So generally, it's not going to be a problem. And if it is, then it gets addressed. But no, but that's all.
How do you manage if staff are opting out of using social media? How do you document what staff have identified that they would use social media as a communication platform and those that are opting out?
I don't believe we do that at all for staff, only students. I've never seen, have you ever seen anything, Linda?
because our policy is saying that our staff can use social media as a communication about classroom instruction. Like there's teachers and classes, grades that have their own
Yeah, and it's been
platforms.
the most effective communication. I've seen that teachers get the most responses by having those Google group or those Facebook groups.
I brought that concern up last year with COVID just to my mom, who's a teacher, and I asked her, I kind of said like, wow, do you think that's okay for teachers to be Facebooking their students' parents? And she said, honestly, it's the only way I'll get a response. It was her last, sort of ditch effort at one point, and now it's the only thing because they have Wi-Fi maybe, but they don't have a cell phone plan.
That's why.
Yeah, I've heard that from others too.
Messenger is like texting, but it doesn't require you to have the same cell phone number or the same.
You can
cell
have an
phone plan
iPhone or
be in cell
just a-
phone service. You can Facebook Messenger has become our community's most common way of communicating, and you don't need to know somebody's
And
number.
Messenger is not really social media. I'm sorry.
No,
You
it's
can
private.
post on a story, I guess. That's kind of like social media, but it's really just a messaging service.
But they also, so the teachers that I've had so far with my son have had, they have a personal, often, not always, but often they'll have like a personal Facebook profile, and then I'll have their teacher Facebook profile. And then with their teacher Facebook profile, they'll also make a classroom page and invite parents into that. And that's where they kind of just can post announcements. And I appreciate it. And I think other families do too, is just a really like,
as long as there's
instant
like
kind of-
separation from your personal,
Right.
where you're
Yeah.
posting your political views or whatever.
So we're entrusting that judgment on the teacher, right? On the professional. We're not marshaling that at all.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That came up in a different policy last
like,
year.
why would do we even have to have that one section that says staff may opt out use social media platforms for communication?
I think that's just opting out of this need for prior approval from the principal or district administrator. Is that right, Linda?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Under the social media for instructional and school sponsored activities, it looks like it gave us choices of who would approve a staff member using social media. And we're essentially saying staff members, that opt-out language is saying staff members don't need approval to use social media.
It looks like that whole paragraph has some cleaning up.
Oh, that we opt out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sentence is now
we-
staff may use social media platforms, yeah.
So even if it's scratched out and it has a green above it that says legal counsel agreed with choosing options 5 through 7, they're not actually blocked out. Is that what
Are you looking at like option 2?
I'm looking at employees' use of district technology resources to access social media for personal use.
I thought that was crossed out.
That's what she's asking.
But above it in green, it says agreed with choosing. So
Does it mean
we
that-
choose one? Choosing between options 5 through 7. And so we just choose number 7, I guess.
And I think that's in alignment with, oh, that's for personal use, never mind.
Yeah, it says you may use your district device for personal use during breaks, meal times, and before and after scheduled work hours.
So it is indicating that the district may monitor,
Mhm.
but no one's charged with that at all. I mean, no one's.
We do,
Saying-
we have like a internal monitoring system that we hire. I don't know if it works on like devices. What devices do teachers have? Just their computers?
But is that just if it's something that's inappropriate? Or doesn't tell the school what it is?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
It does. It's
Like something and it goes to, I believe it depends who the
It's
person
not
is.
very specific.
Chris, can you speak to that?
Yeah, what is the question exactly?
that monitoring service that we have for inappropriate behavior or inappropriate
Uh,
or whatever.
We have several layers going on there. We have a web filter that blocks based on websites. And then when it comes down to content that's monitored, that's done only for students. And it's an automated process that looks for keywords, bullying, self-harm, inappropriate language, hate speech, things like that.
Is there anything monitoring the employees' devices?
They are affected by our web filter, and we don't have the content filtering or the content searching on this staff accounts. That's only on student accounts.
Do you guys really think that we need that? I mean, these are hired professionals.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
And like the situation from before wasn't
But it
something that
says
was
in
going to
here
get
that it
caught.
will be monitored. I guess that's the language, or maybe it says that it can be
It may
monitored.
be monitored.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that could just be maybe monitored, could be somebody seeing a comment and feeling like that's inappropriate and then having further conversation about that.
I think it meant of their use of the district's devices during
Yeah.
the school day.
Which could also just
the
be
content.
observationally monitored.
All staff email is also archived. That doesn't cover social media platforms. And also our social media, our Facebook page, that is also archived. So if somebody makes a comment and later deletes it, we still have that in our records available in the archive.
We have two policies under this item, social media and relations with non-affiliated,
Yeah.
non-school affiliated groups. Is there any more questions on either? No.
I can motion to approve policies 7544 social media and 9700 relations with non-school affiliated groups as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Esme or Magdalene and a second by Esme. Any more discussion? Question? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Nay.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I think it needs more discussion.
We have one nay and the motion carries. Do you want it back on the policy agenda?
Yeah, I would just like it to be more clearer
when it comes to us so that we don't have to have so much discussion and wondering where it's coming from and who can and who can't. So I would just like it more cleared up a little bit more. Because it is a big issue, I'm telling you.
Mhm.
In the past, we had not just one, we had several issues with social media, and I just wanted to make sure that it reads the way it's supposed to read correctly.
I'm curious about the issues in the past, if they're on Bayfield's page, the school's page, or on people's personal pages, or both, or.
Yeah. I think one was on, I think they were both the personal.
They're all personal.
All
So
personal.
like if that's the way that it has to be addressed is as an employee on your own personal Facebook, as a district employee, you are agreeing.
And that's what I'm saying.
for
If
this and this
this
and
social
this.
media is just pertaining to our
District.
district website.
I believe it is.
That's what I understood in the
It
last
is.
meeting. I thought there was a
It still
separate
should be
policy
cleaned up
for
a little bit
employee
and read
use
a
of
little bit more
technology.
clearer, I think, so that we understand it and everyone doesn't have like, oh, it should be and it should be. Let's just get
We
it
can go
cleared up
through it
and-
again
Yeah.
and
I mean, it's a Neola policy, so we can't change the wording. We can only come to a common understanding.
but we
of
can
the
change our
wording.
administrative guidelines though.
Mhm.
Those are ours to change, right?
We can
For
make
the
it, we
employees.
can work it to fit our school.
So yeah, they are ours. And we
So
can
in a-
adopt policies on top of Neola. They just wouldn't be protected by Neola.
Mhm.
The school can adopt whatever policy they want as long as it's within our legal right. But it wouldn't be protected by the Neola contract. Right. We'd have to run it through our legal instead of theirs. Let's move on to 6.6, consider 2021-22 LaPointe Elementary meals. Randy?
Okay, you had asked to have a comparison of in-town meals versus just LaPointe meals. So I did that, and it came up with the cost per meal at LaPointe is $9.50. The cost for meals in town is $6.47. I do have to talk to Farmhouse because the DPI will only allow a 3% increase. And the increase that they're proposing is 29.5 and 7.9. So I'll just have to have a discussion with them. Even though she's here right now.
I do have a question about the food costs, because I know we've gone over this for many years, and the difference between the food costs. But I can't remember if the total food cost for Bayfield includes labor.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Mhm.
And then also like benefits,
Yes,
it includes all of that.
all of that. Anything that is coded to lunch, it
Mhm.
includes benefits, wages, and food costs, everything.
Okay.
And so does Farmhouse because they do have wages that are built into
Yeah.
theirs too. So should we table this till next month when I can have a conversation with Farmhouse?
Well, we talked about it at Finance Committee.
Mhm.
And knowing that the DPI and I guess that's will only allow the 3% increase.
Without having to put it out on bid and not have,
Mhm.
right, we'd have to put it out on bid for everybody in order to have that increase, if we're
Yeah.
willing to do that.
So
Because-
I suggested offering the 3% increase to Farmhouse and also sending out an anonymous survey to the parents about meals.
Yep, I do have that in my notes also. For
Because,
parents on
and that
lunches.
was simply because we're, with all the raises, we've talked about it numerous times, accountability and raises. And so I don't know if we need a motion for that, but
We can table it.
until Randy can have a meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Still need a motion.
Motion to table 6.6.
Second.
We have a motion by Cindy to table, second by Esme. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. 6.7, consider 21-22 LaPointe Elementary fuel bid.
And so we also talked about this at Finance Committee. And we talked about getting another bid from the other fuel provider on Madeline Island. And I see Randy reached out, or Linda reached out. And Brummer Company from LaPointe refused our invite to bid. So we only have the one bid.
Thanks for reaching out.
Mhm.
227 seems reasonable for the island.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Cindy and a second by Sarah. Could we have a roll call, please, Linda?
Cindy Garrity,
Yeah.
Esme Martinson,
Yes.
Kylie Badness,
Yes.
Cole Boyd,
Yes.
Magdalene Dale,
Yes.
Sarah Trudeau,
Yes.
Lee Sweet.
Yes.
Motion carries. 6.8, consider 21-22 milk bid.
So I saw Tetzner's isn't offering chocolate milk. Is that correct? Yeah. looks
What
like
are
it.
we required to offer?
2%, 1% skim.
Or we're required to offer all of those, or
No,
which one are we required to offer? We're only required to offer.
I'm not sure what's required, but currently we do the skim, 1%, and chocolate skim.
That'd be pretty cool if we could serve Tetzner's.
I
know,
know,
it's so
good. I don't drink.
And I know that
but
they're
I
price is
used
better.
to.
Their price is better, and the
It's
kids can go
local.
out there and see where their food comes from, which is a really big deal. And you can watch the machine. Like, not that this is the deciding factor, but the machine that like cleans the udder and gives the cow a treat and takes the milk is out of this world. And I mean, if the debate is whether or not we need chocolate, like, I think we should just.
Oh, Stephanie will.
But we'd have to
Can't
go
we
there to
do-
pick up also. though.
Well, and they would have to
Yeah.
be poured. It wouldn't be in
Yeah.
little single cartons.
But that contributes to like community meals, which I know COVID, that's not necessarily friendly for, but I think that the little kids really liked when they were in their classrooms together eating more as a community. And in Washburn, they have like, I think a really big success around getting kids, like getting them involved in their food and pouring and teaching them just how to like sit and have a meal together.
Well, it's
I
very
think
different. Head Start is family style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to buy, or not me anymore, but buy milk cartons at Head Start for kids to practice coming to the big school.
Well,
That's
I-
ridiculous.
I
Whereas
think-
historically, since they're 1 year old, they're using a cup and getting their milk poured in.
Yeah, which I
And-
think also is an
I don't know.
opportunity to teach about reducing waste.
It's a great opportunity to reduce waste. I mean, I
And
would
it's
really want to
cheaper.
hear the food service because I think they should have.
Where are we with them?
Up
Up
north.
north foods.
Yeah.
So it would be food service that drives out to Washburn to pick it up. And then would they be walking around the cafeteria and pouring milk?
No,
for
like right
students?
now for juice cups, you just have like a big tray and they load them up with little cups and they fill your juice.
Mhm.
And then you just grab one on your way through. It'd be, more.
And I don't know
More
about chocolate, but I mean, couldn't we even just have chocolate syrup? And then we can even like limit how much chocolate is going in.
I mean, I think chocolate milk is a little bit. I mean, I would really miss it as a student because it was
Yeah.
like the best part of my day.
Yeah.
But also,
But as
I
an
think
adult,
it's
you don't
really
care.
unnecessary, and I would not be giving my kid that now. So I don't know.
My
It
kids
is the
get
most
chocolate
widely
milk.
used. Is the chocolate milk.
So as
Oh,
an
yeah, it's 45
alternative,
grams of
if,
sugar in a little tiny box. Of course there.
but then that's what I mean about chocolate syrup, then you can actually you know how much is going in there. You control that. You're not giving kids the bottle of chocolate syrup, you know, but if you're saying, okay, you just mix it in.
I think that I lean towards just moving away from chocolate milk and just doing the Tetzner's. And then maybe we can like do ice cream once in a while from Tetzner's as like a treat. And so you're kind of learning that like every day you drink normal milk, just like you do at Head Start.
They
And
don't
that-
get chocolate milk at Head Start.
Exactly, but that's what
No,
I'm saying. So
yeah.
like if we
Well, even
like,
if
the-
chocolate milk was a treat once in a while,
Right.
Yeah, the
not an
kids-
everyday
yeah,
thing.
those who are going to protest the change are those who like the current elementary students, because it's like, what, we had chocolate and now we don't. But
They'll get
the
over it,
kids
though.
coming up know how to use a cup better than they know how to use a carton, know how to drink white milk more than they've ever even experienced chocolate milk. And so, yes, the first years are going to be hard because of that. And then, and I agree with the spill part in terms of staff. But you have spills with cartons too.
And those cartons are so much waste.
Well, Beth
Mhm.
has been bringing that to our attention as well, the food service waste. And we have a new food service coordinator who could be this massive education tool for us. I don't know.
It does add
I'm
to
as the-
someone's job.
I
load.
voted for no chocolate milk like 5 years ago. Enough.
Okay, let's.
No, Stephanie,
let's
I
see what
think
we
too.
can do.
Are there any comments from, like, we as a board are the ones that are gonna have to deal with the pushback from students and parents. It'll be staff that have to get that message across. So curious if there's any comments from staff on the potential of going with Tetzner's.
Beth?
I believe that a lot of what you've discussed are all valid points. I come to the side of, I think it's really important for the district to support a local family dairy. I think that we are teaching, there's a lot of learning opportunities there, not only from managing a cup versus opening a carton, but also really knowing, I think, as May said, where your food comes from and just learning about it that way. There are also milk alternatives that are available for children who need that for dietary or health reasons. I think that chocolate milk should be off of the table as a daily option, but I think, as maybe Sarah said, as a treat once in a while. And cost effectively, we will, yes, be investing in some cups, and yes, maybe in a couple more mops. But I think in the long run, our children and families know that we are creating this partnership with Tetzner's. It's excellent milk, excellent quality, and any pushback, I think, will be short term. And again, here's a learning opportunity for us around food. And I think that that's of great benefit. That is, that's my opinion on how we just manage different food options at school.
I just have one comment though, because we did, when I worked for a coffee shop, I had to go get Tetzner's milk. And technically we have to have the milk kept at a certain temperature and transported in a way that is health and whatever certified.
Yeah, like we don't have a refrigerated truck. How are we going to do it?
Yes.
Well, we certainly would figure that out. I'm sure that between Joel and I and anybody else that we need to pull in are pretty good at problem solving. So we could do that research for sure. If that,
And there's a lot of leniency, but it's just something to be careful about.
No,
My
I
brother-
understand that.
I don't know, but we can.
Yep, contract with them.
It can be figured out.
Well,
I motion to go with Tetzner's 100%. And can we look into whole milk, because that's actually really good for kids.
Through the,
It might not be a reimbursable.
no, but you can serve chocolate.
I know,
Because
right?
it's 1%. We have a motion on the floor by Esme to accept the Teschner's dairy bid.
I'll second.
And a second by Sarah. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. 6.9 on our agenda, review 2122 Madeline Island Ferry Line proposal. Okay, am I right to hear that this has been asked to table? Beth, or?
Correct. It was discussed at length at the Finance Committee meeting, and the administration, we were given a series of pieces of information to get answers to, and are still working on pulling together that information, as well as having our legal counsel, John Anderson, take a look at the contract.
Motion table.
Second.
A motion by Cindy to table. A second by Esme. More discussion.
I would just say at the finance committee, we basically tasked, I believe, Beth with many things to contact the ferry line about. Am I recollecting that correctly? And
The ferry, yep, go ahead, sorry.
I would say if any other board members had anything else that they wanted to add.
I did
To the
contact
list.
the Park Service and they weren't interested in anything.
No, I don't think, we talked about exploring other options for transporting the children. And my thing was that I don't think the ferries push through so much ice. And I'm not suggesting that we don't. I'm always saying, let's explore every option that we have. But I just don't know what other boats could push through that amount of ice or would be willing to do that. So.
Well, there's an airport. Just kidding.
Yeah.
If we do a revise this contract, the clerk has to be updated on the last page. Or when we do revise this contract, if we do. Clerk. Is that you? How you doing? There's just some things that need to be discussed though, like the ferry line meeting the needs of the school district and the kids, like getting them here at a time that allows them to have equitable opportunities as their peers, like eating breakfast.
To get here on time in the morning, and also I don't think it's too much to ask that forever in the past, there's always year round, the last ferry boat to the island was 5:30. And that allowed our students that attended Bayfield and live on the island to participate in sports, to go to practice. And the only time that they would have to stay the night on the mainland was for games, but they were still able to attend practices or for any extracurricular, whether it's, no matter what it is, they were able to attend. Now in the winter, they have gotten rid of the 5:30 ferry, and the last ferry to the island is 4 p.m. So not only can kids not participate at all, they have to hurry along with any staff members. It's just not accommodating to the school schedule, to the students' needs at all. And so we need to, and Beth did talk to the ferry line, and they said that they are understaffed, that they're not able to provide those boats because they're understaffed. I suggested that we ask for actual numbers from their staff. Like if that's even possible, is that something we can ask for? What were the numbers of staff the winter of 2019 versus the number of staff for 2021? Is this just something they're telling everyone, or is this real? Are they too understaffed to run the boats?
Well, and I heard that they're also not doing a 7 a.m. boat.
That's
so
correct.
Teachers can't even get here to teach.
No, they can't. And there's been some discussion about the students riding the 8 a.m. ferry anyway, because I think that the ferry line's like, well, the students rode the 8 a.m. ferry anyway. which changed a number of years ago. I think were you two maybe both on the board then? Was at a meeting on the island. There were some high school students, I believe they were in high school at the time, living on the north end of the island. And it was required that they be on the 7 a.m. ferry. And
Oh, yeah, I remember this now.
yeah. And so they had to get picked up from the bus at like 6:15 a.m. So to be ready for school by 6:15 a.m. to be on or even if it was 6:30, it might've been 6:30, but it was just a very long day. And so the school board agreed that students could then ride the 8 a.m. ferry. And I believe at that point it said there was a choice. You could ride the 7 or the 8.
Yeah, because we started running 2 buses
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
the morning.
Yeah. Because
Is the
some
school
kids
day- what time's the
wanted
school
to
day
get
gonna
there
start?
early.
What time will the school day start next year? Like 8:20 or whatever?
I feel like to accommodate teachers, because in speaking with Beth about this, she said, okay, as a parent, I understand that logic of not wanting your child to have that long of a day, right? And sending them that early in the morning. But as a teacher, when these students are coming into your class late, it's disruptive. It's not just, it's like they're coming in 15 minutes late. You either have to wait for them, or you start over, or you find individual one-on-one time with this student. And who knows if they can even catch up, like in that 15 minutes. You don't know how much you're going to have to reteach.
So there's
to
still a
that student.
7 a.m. ferry?
There's no 7 a.m.
So no 7 a.m.
And they said that they're not willing to run one.
And one of the teachers expressed in an email to the board, I
Mhm.
believe, that she won't be able to get here on time to teach.
Well, she'll have to take the 7 a.m.
There isn't one.
There isn't
The
one.
earliest boat off the island is 8.
Oh,
And
yeah.
as I shared at the
Good.
committee, our concern is for students, to get our students to school on time, to allow them to have breakfast, to allow them to make connections with teachers if they need to, and to allow them to be ready and not rushed to get to their first period class. And what's frustrating is the immediate response from the ferry line just saying we can't do it. And the earliest boat will be 8 a.m. leaving the island. And that's a problem for us. That is a problem for our students. Staff, no disrespect meant, but it's not our concern. They're opting to live on the island, and they need to get to work on time. And so I'm focusing on our students and ensuring that they have safe transportation and that they have transportation that gets them to and from school, to be able to have their full educational experience. And as Sarah shared, it really nips it in the bud if they can't do extracurriculars, and some have extracurriculars are in the morning as well. So that is problematic.
It sounds like the ferry is saying they don't have the staff to add a new 7 o'clock trip. Is there any room to ask them to move the 8 a.m. boat to 7:30?
That's a great question. I thought about that also, because it's kind of a compromise also between the 7 a.m. and 8, like 7 being too early for these kids to get to school and 8 o'clock being too late. It also kind of solves that problem. And I don't know, I think it would have to be brought to the ferry line.
I did ask Robin if it was possible to accommodate and have a 7:30 boat leave or a 7. And she said no. I can certainly ask again if they could do away with an 8 a.m. boat entirely and just have a 7:30 boat.
Well, and I think that this is also time for, like, speaking on the staff's concerns, like the staff email that we all got saying that they can't get to work on time. And we can't speak on behalf of island residents who are frustrated with the ferry line service. They have to speak for themselves directly to the ferry line or to the town of LaPointe. And I think it's time for that to happen. This would be my suggestion to any staff having problems or anyone having problems. Because anyone working on the mainland that lives on the island, if you can't leave until 8 and you have to be back by 4, that's not a full work day. Yeah.
Well,
So,
let's
table.
move. Yeah, we have we're moving on. 6.10, discuss school board retreat.
I'm sorry, Nicole, did you do a vote?
I did.
All in
We
favor?
had Cindy and Esme and we voted.
Thank you.
Pretty sure we voted. And then we
I
had,
don't know. Yeah.
any questions on the retreat?
First off, I want to say that I was not going for the out of town trip. And my main focus was that we've always had it here. We have our own space. We have other alternative areas in our area to go to for local to help pay for this cost. $4,000 is money that could be used somewhere else. If we're looking at doing a retreat, the agenda for one can be considered a carryover, so we only have to use 1 day for pay, not 2. And they call it continuous.
Just a recess,
recess.
but we wouldn't be there on Friday anyway. It would only be Saturday for the board.
Sorry, I didn't hear what Cindy said.
Sorry. I just stated that I was curious why we didn't stay local with having this retreat. Because the money that I feel that we had we could save $4,000 and just have it here at the school or have it somewhere local where our monies can be locally spent near. And that our agenda, I thought it was board members both days, that we could consider it a recess instead of having 2 full days of agenda for pay and stuff. So, because there was a comment made in there, board can get $50 per day payment. It's like, we wouldn't need that. We could just utilize 1 if needed. But yeah.
So who are the retreat participants for day 1?
Retreat participants for the Friday is the admin team.
How come there's 8 rooms on Saturday for 15 rooms?
That was a maximum number. I'm not certain why it's still showing 15. Linda could speak to that. I believe that we'll have 8 or less. Randy will be present. Joe will be present. Stephanie, Mike, Shelley, myself. Okay, I'm terrible at math. How many is that? So it might be fewer than 8, but that contract should be adjusted. I think when we were originally planning the retreat, it was envisioning that the board would be present for 2 days, and that proved to not be viable. So we made the Friday, Saturday shift. This retreat, as I've shared, is an opportunity for the admin team and for the board, many of whom are new in positions and coming off the pandemic, to certainly have an opportunity to take a look at the strategic plan for the district that has been, in my humble educational opinion, put on the back burner for several years and not addressed. Kevin Strandberg will be the facilitator, and the draft agenda is, as you see it, as the attachment to the meeting here tonight.
I had just 2 questions. I'm interested in some of the topics on Friday. Can't make the full day because of work. If I was able to come for this afternoon portion, are board members welcome to that? And if so, do we need to be worried about quorum?
You get 3 or more, and it would be a quorum.
You're certainly welcome to come, but I am aware of the quorum situation. So I would guess that you all could work that out if there's availability and interest to come. Absolutely.
Okay. And logistically, it would be nice to know fairly soon, just because it's,
Reservations.
Yeah.
So are board members being given the opportunity to join the retreat via Zoom?
Zoom is available.
Could
For
it?
Friday?
For Saturday?
Yes, in fact, because the board is all meeting, that we have to have a public portion that is Zoomed, and then we have an executive session. And John Anderson, we did ask him about the Saturday agenda for that reason. And so we would have a Zoom available. I mean, ideally, everybody's in person. But I know how hard it is to just coordinate everybody's schedule. But ideally, there's just something really nice about working together face to face, and those conversations that are able to happen just in person. And we all know that just from what we've been experiencing. Here I am now, Zooming to you now.
So I just have some comments, because I think that the agenda is really great in terms of what it covers. So like on both a Friday and Saturday, I think they're all very necessary topics and conversations for the board, not just for admin. So, I mean, I would like to be able to be a part of Friday's conversations or meetings, but I have a full work day. I can't. So I really wish, I guess it's just a comment, I really wish that this could have been done locally in Bayfield. And then even if it were 2 days, the board could be a part of both days, and we could organize it as a meeting with a Zoom link for the public, or it would be accessible to the public if they wanted to be a part and participate in it. And it wouldn't be so hard for everyone to be there. If it were downtown, we could all be there. I don't think it would be such a logistical challenge.
Agreed. Also, I mean, it sounds like kind of lovely, which at first I thought, well, does it need to be lovely? Bayfield is lovely also. Yeah. And then I thought, I think minds work better and are more productive when they're happy. So it seems like it's set, right? Reservations have been made, and it
Just a deposit, but the contract is attached to. We have not made that official.
oh, I guess I didn't look at the contract.
We might lose our deposit.
So are there board members going there on Friday and spending the night?
Um,
No, I'm not planning to.
I would be able to.
Well, it would make sense for you. You'd have to catch the 8 o'clock ferry and be there by 8:30.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. And my Fridays are pretty flexible with my job.
I didn't get that.
Sorry.
Could you try again?
My Fridays are flexible. So I could
Sarah,
go.
not Siri.
And it does look like there's a lot of things that I would like to take part in those discussions on Friday. And it seems like when we go over them on Saturday, it will take a while. Like we'll have to have those discussions all over again, basically, because I know that we all have a lot to say.
Right. I don't want board members to miss out on Friday's discussion because they couldn't get to cable for an overnight,
Mhm.
and then then half the board is on board and the other half is not.
Well, no, because you don't have a retreat for a board unless your board can be there.
Right.
So that first day isn't even with us. That's like an admin meeting day. And the
Mhm.
second day is when the board can develop the agenda. And if the board wants those items on the agenda, then the board puts those on there. It's a board retreat.
Mhm.
Well, I guess that's my point. I would like them on the agenda that we can all be a part of. If that's
Which is
possible.
why the agenda is a draft.
Mhm.
So absolutely, Kevin Strandberg and I worked together on both the Friday and Saturday schedule of events and really thought about what the admin team needed as an opportunity to really sink into some important aspects of not only reflection looking to last year, but also looking forward. And same holds true for Saturday, but it is certainly in draft form. So I 100% welcome you all to think about, what do we need? What do we want to talk about? What's the goal? What are the intentions of being able to meet for a full day like this and really work on things, but also have an opportunity to discuss.
And then is the admin team going to be there on Saturday?
Yes. Unless you don't
I
want
hope
us,
so. They
unless you'd rather just like, hey, this is our time. But it would be public, a public access, open meeting, unless you also wanted to add an executive closed session meeting as well for Saturday.
I guess we can make the whole Saturday meeting closed session if we're going to talk about specific topics. Like, I want organizational structure on this agenda. We have personnel stuff that we need to discuss. There's just a lot of things that
5-year plan should be on.
we would discuss in a retreat. I don't know.
Yep.
Organizational
Sure.
chart.
Mhm.
Okay, I guess my question was, first, if we can rearrange the agenda to all fit on Saturday, then is there really a need for hotel rooms and a dinner at Garmisch and a pontoon ride for admin? No offense to admin, but it is something that we're paying for when it's a board retreat. And if the board retreat can fit on Saturday, can admin just come on Saturday or
Well, no,
not?
they're going to have a work day on Friday. And those meetings are important too. They're pre-meetings to the other meeting. Like, everything doesn't happen with like in one meeting. Like, there's meetings and there's conversations that roll into other meetings and conversations that then carry on to other meetings and conversations. I think I'm glad that the retreat is happening. Personally, I'm glad that it's 2 days. We have so much that has been not discussed and that we've not been able to discuss because we've had super long board meetings this whole year, because we have a mess that we've been cleaning up, and we have COVID that we've been dealing with, and we have more things coming at us, even on tonight's agenda. I am disappointed that I'm not going to be able to attend on Saturday. In the future,
On Saturday?
I can't. I have a flight booked that day. I can't even attend So over then we Zoom. reschedule.
Yeah.
I don't want to reschedule. Beth has had this out to us in her board report for months, and we have not gotten back to her with a date. And I think it's both of our faults. I think that the district should have gotten a survey out to people a lot sooner, but I don't think we can wait to have these conversations. So I hope to attend on Friday as well for some of the day, most of the day. I won't be there on Saturday. I will follow up with somebody afterwards and get filled in on what the conversation is, and then I will be at the next meetings. But you guys can't wait for me. Like, these conversations need to be happening. And in the future, when we have retreats, I want this day blocked off months in advance.
not weeks in advance. Like I booked my flight maybe a month before I was traveling. So, and I, you know, on the day of the survey said, okay, I'm like trying to put my dates in, and Beth and I were already meeting, and she said, well, it looks like this is the weekend that's going to work for everybody. And I said, really? Like, that's the day I have a flight booked. Can it be Thursday, Friday? Which is why that second email went out. But, you know, that wasn't working for people because I understand most people work Monday through Friday, and Saturday is a better day. So it's just how it worked out. Personally, I don't want it rescheduled. Obviously, I really want to be a part of the conversation. I've been wanting this retreat for a long time, and I'm glad that it's happening, and we have a lot we need to talk about.
I agree. I think it's very important. I don't mind the 2 days. And I don't mind that it's mostly admin on the first day because of the pre-meeting. But I do think that just like, let's call it then admin and board retreat, or these two different things, because that's what it seems like it is. And I think that that's maybe where some of the
I think that would be
conflict
good
is
for
coming in.
communication purposes with the public too.
Mhm.
So when we get asked questions about what are you doing and why is it in cable and
Yeah. But it is like, I mean, it's important, I believe. It's just like a, but is there admin meetings regularly? Does that need to be a thing
Yeah, they meet regularly every week.
every week?
We
Okay.
meet Monday mornings for an hour.
Okay.
And we're in communication, but don't have the luxury of having a facilitator like Kevin and having an opportunity to really take a look at the items that we have drafted on the Friday agenda. And I see Stephanie has her hand up.
Stephanie?
There we go. Sorry, I'm in the middle of a truck stop in Montana. I guess my thought is, first of all, we've got an administration that, while we have outstanding personnel, we've been really punting this last year with a whole lot of moving parts, and we really do need some professional development time, some extended time together to really put our heads together and get some work done. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think we need to have all of us in one place for that extended period of time. And I think we can lay a lot of groundwork and share that out with the board and really save the board some time. And so they don't have to go back and look at the minute details. Those are things that we can take care of for the board. But that's just my thought.
Yeah, but board members are going to be there. Like it's not a clear separation.
Well,
Does it need to be?
A board retreat is a board retreat, just as it says.
They're talking operation. They're talking like we need to have time to develop. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting a little funky now with board members being there Friday, not being there Saturday. Who else can't make it Saturday?
Well,
I won't be down.
I was notified today that one of my organizers has to be in Denver that Saturday, and we needed representation at an event. I have to make a difficult choice, and I want to be at the retreat. I said I would be at the retreat, but now I have to decide which is more important.
if the retreat were closer, could you make it then? Does the location matter? Or
No,
Zoom?
it really won't. I have to go to Green Bay. So I have to figure out if it could be managed any other way than me being there.
I had just a couple questions on cost. We talked about numbers, but why is lodging needed on Saturday night if we depart at 3:00? Is that just a part that can be removed?
Sorry, that Linda was working on that, and so she could speak to the logistical information of just the nuts and bolts of accommodations.
Yeah, it is a 2-night minimum on a weekend there. So we have those rooms. We can change that.
Which means it has to be Friday, Saturday, because it's the weekend. It can't be Thursday, Friday.
It don't matter to me because I'm not gonna okay to go down to cable for two nights. When the administration team can meet here and do their job here, and then the board retreat can do their job the next day here also. So that's how I feel. I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, I understand, and I really I agree with all of these conversations need to happen, and we need time, and we all have to sit down, and I want to be a part of all of these conversations. But my first question was, why is this not in Bayfield? I was worried about the appearance, which I know maybe I shouldn't be, but it's a new board. We've got an audience, and the staff can't easily participate, the public can't easily participate, and it's a school district. I just feel like our funds should go into our local community if possible.
Do you remember I came to a school board retreat meeting once, and the first motion was to move it to executive session. It's never been public
more about
friendly.
the appearance though, because it's so executive session. I think the appearance maybe is more important, like that we're having it here.
It was at the Bayfield school.
I'm really just wondering, that's the impression that I get.
I think if we move the location right now, we will, unless we just move it to the school, which is an option. And that there's logistics at play. I think that we should have had this conversation months ago, definitely. And but we're having it now. And I think we can make decisions going forward that the retreat is in the district. But if we change the location now, we do give up
zero or all of the deposit. No deposit will be refunded within, or if it's less than 30 days prior to event.
Right now, there is a location reserved for it that incorporates meals and logistics and stuff. So it's only $500?
I mean, we could give up $500, or we could
then it's
spend
just
$4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah.
Figuring out the
What about
logistics to
did
have it
anyone
here.
reach out to the casino?
Or the Bayfield Inn.
Or Pikes Bay Marina area, anywhere down there.
Port Superior.
That was my comment when I sent it in, was check out the Pikes Bay Marina. Why not have it just here at the Bayfield School? Those were that was my feedback.
I do think that at the school, this is a very kind of sterile environment. I think that having a nice place to be more comfortable does stimulate something that people's minds can work better and
Are we having
differently.
chocolate milk? That's what I want.
I hope there's chocolate milk.
I agree that being in a new space can be valuable. I think sharing a meal for building relationships is important. I do think it seems like a lot of money to spend, and it's hard to see golf and pontoon rental and things like that on there, knowing that it's school dollars. In this moment. And that it's an admin or it's a board retreat. But these are events that only admin can partake in. I'm all for them having some sort of some event, some meeting, because it sounds like it's really necessary. But it seems like we kind of combined a really important meeting with an administrative event, and it's making the board members, or some, hard. It's making it hard to get there, for one thing. And it seems like an unnecessary amount of money to spend.
I wish that it was local for sure. It'd be easier for everyone to be there. I also just, who calls it a board? Like, where did this term even come from? Is this required? An annual thing for a board retreat?
I always wondered why we called it a board retreat when we would just be here in the library too. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah,
it's not a
same.
retreat. It's not a
I was
retreat.
really
This is another
surprised
board meeting.
as a member of the public to find out that the board retreat was a meeting at the school.
We could have a
That
sleepover in the
seemed
gym or
like,
something.
oh, I thought it was a retreat. It's in the name, board retreat. And this is a retreat for admin and the school board. That's what it seems like. I have a question about if it is a 2-day agenda, if we're sticking with a 2-day agenda, regardless of what else happens. And the board can participate on Friday. I don't understand the quorum part of that. I'm sorry. It said it would be a quorum. If we have to only have 2 people there.
Three. You'd have to keep it to 3 or less, I think. You just post them.
Or we post it as an open meeting.
And then it has to be Zoomed or no?
Well, any open sessions would have to be Zoomed.
So
Or
breakfast has to be Zoomed. Everything
No.
would then.
No,
You'd recess.
those things
Working
don't need to
lunch.
be on like an agenda, like a posted agenda.
Okay.
Like the published agenda would only be actual work time.
Working lunch. That seems like work
Well, we
time.
can recess a meeting.
Right.
But is the agenda posted? Like the pontoon ride would be posted for public so that they see what everyone is doing from the district during this.
I don't
retreat.
think that that's necessary.
If you're discussing any school business, does it need to be on the agenda and Zoomed? Like on the pontoon ride? If there's more than 3 school board members there.
Well, at our
You're
last
not there
policy meeting,
acting in a board capacity if you're at a social event.
this did come up though in our last policy meeting. So we discussed what is proper and improper for members of the district or school board or staff to communicate about outside of a board meeting. And that would be basically anything that's coming up at a board meeting or district oriented decision making, anything beyond like slightly beyond casual conversation or semi-education related topics would be technically improper. So
I don't agree, but that's something that we need to talk about at the retreat, and I want to
retreat.
be there. But what is not permissible is for people, whether it's 2 people talking and then you say, oh, I'm going to talk to this person and get them to agree. You cannot say, we're going to vote this way. You can have conversation and you can socialize, but that's how I interpret it. And I feel like other people interpret it differently. And that is where it gets messy.
I think I think we're gonna need to figure this out, but I think there are 2 levels. So Beth and I have a conversation about
Don't use Beth.
Okay.
We're supposed to have
Okay,
a
sorry.
relationship with Beth. We are supposed to talk
Okay,
to Beth.
a
so don't use Beth.
person that's on staff.
Or board specifically, right?
I don't think it matters. So 2 people on staff, whether it's board, admin, or staff.
No, that's different for each person, Esme. So board members have to be careful of having a quorum and
Well, that's one issue, or a walking quorum.
But board members and staff, that is a gray area for sure.
That's what I'm getting at. So what is proper and improper for 2 people within the board, admin, and staff to discuss is on the retreat agenda and needs to be sorted out. But I feel like it's potentially some sort of, I don't want to say it's an issue, but if we're on a retreat with admin and board all mixed up, and then the next day we're having a conversation and we don't understand what is, I mean, it's getting technical, but I'm just asking the question.
Well, I think it's associated too with your concern about the appearance of impropriety. We might all be able to function very well and have conversation and talk about issues. We can't lobby. We can't represent in an official way. But still, I mean, we have the community looking at, well, they're having a retreat and now they're making decisions. And yeah, so it's getting to be a little you say, what was the technical term? Funky? Yeah, yeah, it could be a real problem, I think.
Well, I guess we're going back to looking for what
Yeah.
we're gonna do here.
Beth, I'm fine with you having an admin meeting Friday. It doesn't have to be affiliated with a board member retreat. We are not there acting in our capacity, and we are not at the retreat. If board members are being invited to your meeting, it's not a posted meeting. It's not a board member meeting. So you need to figure that out on your side, because Friday is not a board retreat day. It's admin day. Saturday, the board is coming to act in its capacity to attend a retreat. And I think that's we just need to be clear on that.
And okay, yep, point taken. Thank you. And Mike, did you have something to add? Your hand has been up for a while.
Hi, everyone. Good discussion. Being someone new to the Bayfield School District and to an admin team that's pretty new, and we've got quite a few new board members as well. I just want to let you know that I see a real value in the retreat. And I think Sarah said, yep, a retreat that happens in the school building. Maybe we're not thinking, maybe we don't think outside the box, or we don't think, we think in a different way. One thing that I look at this as an opportunity to do is to really talk about our strategic plan as the leaders of our district, and as the admin team and the school board. I see us both as being in that position. And this year, we never really had a chance to sit down as a group, or even as an admin team, to really dive into our strategic plan. And I think that's where Kevin Strandberg gets to do a good job of leading us through that, with Beth at his side, making sure that we really discuss what are the parts of the strategic plan, how do we ensure that that's happening during the school year, and what should we be looking for as far as outcomes. I do like the idea also, and I talked to Beth about this, that one way to make a retreat really efficient is to not only have time for business, but also have time to make personal connections. In the business world, I think that happens all the time. There's relationships that need to be formed. And to be honest with you, there's no time that I can think of that I can sit down for a half hour or 45 minutes and just do something other than schoolwork with my admin team and or you guys as board members. And so I look forward to that. And I still think that that's a real valuable thing. And I just want to end, I was under the impression that we did try to find local spots, and that we were having a hard time, that nobody wanted to accommodate us. And I could be wrong on that, but that was the message that I was hearing, because that's the way our discussions about this retreat started, is to let's get out of the school building so that it is a true retreat, but let's see if we can keep it local. Names that I heard were Wild Rice. I heard some looking into some places on the island. So, I mean, I know Cindy had talked about that and said, doesn't seem right that we're doing things for the Bayfield School District, but we're going outside of the area. I think that was because we didn't have much of an option that would fit our idea of doing a couple days. I understand the work obligations of board members, and that Friday would be tough. And I totally get that. I understand what Nicole is saying. Just make it an admin retreat, followed up the next day as a board retreat. If the board wants us there as part of that discussion and part of that teamwork in doing the strategic plan and really getting to understand how we move our school district forward, I think that'd be a great thing. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, let's move on and wrap up somewhere, guys, because we got a lot of items still to address on the agenda.
I'm going to make a motion to approve school board retreat
for Saturday.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the retreat renamed Friday as an admin and school board retreat, or to rename it admin and school board retreat for Friday and Saturday.
Where?
Lakewoods retreat as presented.
Can I just ask, because I don't want to Google it right now, how far away is Cable?
45 minutes.
We have a motion that's gonna die.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Sarah and a second by Magdalene. Any more discussion? All those in favor, vote.
Sorry. If we're going with Lakewoods, we're doing the 2-day thing, I think I'm nervous about this public perception thing and the dollars spent. Would love if the budget focused on the time together and dinner and less so on the extra activities. But I'm curious to hear what others think.
We got a motion on the first and then discussion.
But we did,
There was a
There-
motion in the second.
we can take discussion now.
Yeah, I would like to see it happen locally.
Me too.
It's so for about a million reasons. I just want to see us make this happen. I mean, Bayfield, Washburn, Ashland, Town Russell, Cornucopia, Herbster, like somewhere that I can get up and get to, and that's within our district. I guess Herbster would not be, but
I would like to see it within the district also. I guess I would like to know, Mike said that they looked into that and that no one could accommodate us.
well,
Do you want us to come?
Their main focus.
give it the-
And they didn't even get back to us. We talked at length about what we wanted and never did hear from them. They're busy.
well, and they put out a full, like fully
Oh.
booked schedule months ago
understaffed.
because they've been planning for their opening for past
Well,
2
we have a
years.
motion on the floor, and I don't truly feel like a majority of rules is the approach we should be taking on a board member retreat.
No,
It's a board retreat. It should work for everyone.
So I
It
just
shouldn't be what works on this agency's calendar and what works in this staff person's calendar.
And a board retreat should also be the full board. So if Dee can't make it and you can't make it, then it's a full board, it should be a full board retreat. So we're all in.
It
at
also
one
needs
time.
to happen soon, which is why I made the motion. That's my main motivation behind making this motion, is
I-
that I believe this needs to happen sooner than later.
I still think that we should look into asking the Bayfield Inn. Kim West has the dock shop, which has a full kitchen, dock, outdoor seating area. She hardly uses the space. We could look into using the Bayfield Town Hall,
Mhm.
Well, we
Russell.
are
Port Superior
agreement
Restaurant.
on the style of retreat. I hear that. On a 2-day need.
The motion
It doesn't
still
sound
stands.
like the agreement is on the location.
Question.
All right. Question been called. All those in favor,
Roll call.
let's have a roll call vote, Linda, please.
Esme Martinson,
No,
Magdalene Dale,
Yes.
Nicole Boyd,
Yes.
Sarah Trudeau,
Yes.
Cindy Garrity,
No.
Kylie Vadnais,
Yes.
Dee Sweet.
No.
That's 4
Or 3?
yeses and 3 nays.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's, yeah, motion
Sucks.
carries, but it's not an ideal situation. And Beth, we could revisit this too.
Absolutely. And I don't want to take any more time talking about it. So I certainly can reach out to you all so we can come to a good solution. I appreciate, nobody said these meetings weren't of value. We just need to work out the logistics.
Yeah. And
And
can we still, like, if we find a local place, can we call a special board meeting and change this?
Totally.
Wait, so the
Um,
motion passes, so does that mean it's happening?
Yes.
As set, yes.
It's happening, okay, so it's happening at Lake Woods Resort. Okay, and I think all of the conversation tonight, which I agree should have happened months ago, can inform the next one. But just like Sarah said, like, we need to start having the conversations. They've been pushed off for so long and people's schedules aren't lining up, and
And that's
I'm
how school
glad-
boards are, because there's 9 of us. So there's a lot of us that have
There's-
to be lined up. So
Yeah.
it
at
takes
like a
time.
crazy time. I know scheduling this summer has been harder than I've ever known.
So Nicole and Beth, you guys are gonna work things out.
sure, be happy to.
Moving on.
Moving on our agenda, 6.11, 21-22 employee handbook, first reading.
Motion to approve.
A second.
I have in this discussion though, in our employee handbooks and all of our handbooks, shouldn't there be something in there stating that because COVID's still in our midst, that if something that just says if something COVID strikes, that we would refer to the COVID policies or something? You think that should be something added in?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. As I was reading the handbooks, there were some areas, but I'll get to them because it was more in the elementary one than in the
Okay.
employee one.
That was just my comment for all. So. Question?
Any other discussion? We have a motion on the floor by Cindy, a second by Esme. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Motion carries. 6.12, 21-22 elementary school student handbook, first reading.
The picture.
So building on what Cindy said, specifically with the elementary, I wondered if there would be anything in the handbook or in addition to the handbook around COVID. Our mask is going to be required. Elementary students have not and likely will not have that option to be vaccinated, like staff and high school and most middle school students have had. So I don't know when it needs to be put on the agenda, but just some discussion about mask use. In the handbook, there's mention of visitors allowed at lunch and other times. And is that going to be restricted for elementary students? Can vaccinated visitors be allowed or unvaccinated? So I think there needs to be some conversation around that. Also mixing of middle school, high school with elementary, seeing as elementary has not had the opportunity to be vaccinated and the others have. And are we requiring masks in the middle school, high school where they have been vaccinated? So these are things that just came to mind as I was looking at the handbook, but I think need to be on like the next agenda, or if not, a special meeting.
Right. It seemed good, like
And a reference.
without COVID, but COVID is still a factor. So
I have a few notes beyond. I think the main one is just, in my opinion, I thought that like under student behavior expectations, which is like page 23 through 30, there was a lot that was repetitive, and I wondered, it doesn't need to be for this time. I'm fine approving it for this year. But moving forward, could we put some attention there to just make that more efficient in the language so that people aren't, it's just repetitive but it's important. And so I don't want people to give up on reading it. Page 32, the student parent permission form for the World Wide Web. This was approved in 2008. And after reading policy, I'm wondering if this form is even required or just the opt-out form.
I don't know that we need students to give permission to use photographs of them. I thought the opt-out form just covered that. So I have a question there. And that form is in the high school handbook too. And on the second part, there's something about not identifying the person in the photo, and that happens all the time when people are taking photos on Facebook. So I think from the policies I've read, we can just eliminate this form, and that would be the easiest. Those are my main comments.
Magdalene, what is the form? Is it a release form?
But in the policy, there's another form that says you can opt out of having your picture used, and that's in there as well. It's like on a later page. And I think according to policy, we only need the opt-out form. We don't need also like a permission form.
So if you're approving, or did anyone approve? If we do approve, we can approve with changes. It is only the first reading, so it will come back for a second reading. And we could have Beth follow up with legal in between, or just follow up internally to figure out.
We can look at those forms again as an admin team and bring them back. I don't know if Mike has anything to say from the elementary handbook perspective.
Yeah, I hear everything you were saying, Magdalene, about that last part. What I did is I just took the handbook as is, went through and updated things, removed things that were just outdated and didn't need to be there. That whole thing on the behaviors and that stuff is something that I want to go through with the PBIS committee, so that it's not just me rewriting it, but there's a group of people from the elementary school who do it. So it didn't happen with everything that was going on this year. So I just left all that stuff as is. That was part of the old handbook. So the only changes that I made were just making updates to things that needed dates changed, names changed, and got rid of things that were just completely redundant that I felt I could do on my own. But something like that, I would like to get a committee to work on. So that's in the plans for next year. We're also looking at possibly using the Neola template. And so that might change everything anyways. We might just be taking all this information and plugging it into the template next year, but we just didn't have time to do that this summer. But clearly noted that some of that stuff, it didn't make sense to me to have so much of it, so.
Thanks, Mike. Sounds good.
Do you want to approve with changes, board?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can motion to approve the elementary student handbook with first reading with changes. Do I say first reading?
Yeah.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Magdalene and a second by Kylie to approve the first reading of the elementary student handbook with changes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to 6.13, middle and high school student handbook, first reading 2021-22.
Okay, couple things I noticed on this one, page 21, the schedule's all crossed out. I know that there's been some changes with the schedule from like a 7-period day to 8-period day or something, but I'm assuming that that's going to get added. On page 22, there's that is not about like the radio stations that announce the weather. It's just not consistent with the elementary, so making those two handbooks consistent with each other. I can email some language around dual credit on page 24. We've had conversation with this earlier in the year, and I think there could be some clarification there. Early college credit program is just for some colleges. WITC Start College Now is the program, and for LCO College, we can just do dual credit. which doesn't have the same deadlines that early college credit program requires. So those were some changes I noticed.
Motion to approve the changes. then.
Okay. Do you want me to make that motion? Cindy did.
I did.
You did. I'll second.
We have a motion by Cindy and a second by Magdalene with changes. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have the 21-22 Athletic Policy Handbook, first reading, waive second.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
In discussion. Can you explain to me why in a lot of the paragraphs, it says a student cannot quit the team?
Jeff, are you on the line?
Hey, everyone. Yeah,
Good.
Cindy, what page is that on?
It's in several areas. It's got major violations. It's in that area. But there's a lot of areas where it says that student athlete cannot quit the team.
Yeah, so typically that's when there's a violation or an occurrence, whether it's a academic performance issue where they got to sit out for a week, or there's an actual violation where they may be suspended for a game or two. At that point, they're still required to be with the team, go to practices. But their suspension is with the events. We still want them to be part of the program. They just won't be, they'll be, given a suspension. I think that's what that's for.
Okay, because we can't stop any student from quitting.
Right.
No.
But if they do quit, then their penalty continues into the next sport.
That's if they have a violation.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
for a
Yes.
violation of any
Yeah.
kind. They can't quit the team once they
Right.
discover that they had. Okay.
Yeah, it'll
That's
carry
what I
over
was
to the
like,
next
"Oh,
sport.
they can quit if they want to quit.
Yeah.
Everybody, anything else? Any more discussion? We have a motion by Cindy, a second by Kylie. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. 6.15, consider LaPointe Elementary School assessment.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Joel.
This came about as a result of a discussion when the Buildings and Grounds Committee met back in June, when I presented an assessment from DWGR. John Grzina presented a kind of a similar assessment in regards to square footage proposal based on remodel and new construction, and the numbers of that one and the numbers of this one are pretty similar. And I think that was the intent, to see if the cost was going to drastically go up, come down based on another assessment.
So what's the action? we're
Yeah, I
looking
don't
for,
know
Shannon?
that we understand the recommendation.
Right. I don't see a recommendation in the summary.
It's
or-
more like they're just giving us the options.
So is that a recommendation from you, Joel?
No, this is more informational than anything, because in that particular group meeting, you folks asked me to give you a second option in regards to an assessment.
Yes.
I think the concern was that first assessment was way too low at around, I think it was around $300 a square foot. And as you can see, this assessment is relatively the same, a little bit more on the higher end. You see there's like two proposals for remodel, a lower and a higher, and then there's two proposals for demolition, new construction, a lower and a higher. So, but the first assessment from DWGR fell right in there as well. So this is more for information for for you folks to decide on what the next step is. Are we going to look at a possible remodel, or are we going to look at possible new construction, or are we just going to leave it as it is?
Well, according to these numbers, it looks like we'd be better off a new building for sure.
Yes, I would agree with that assessment.
And I think it was nice that they pointed out in this one versus the last one. They did discuss that the estimate is for something that they're building on that island, because we had concerns about, I think, ferries and getting materials and extra costs associated with that. So this might be more accurate.
Yep.
They're focusing on that.
I appreciated the fact that they took that consideration as well.
Joel, if we were to ask you about next steps, what would they be? Just so we have options.
I would say the next steps for you folks is decide on how you want to move forward in regards to if you decide you want to build a new school, how you're going to, first of all, fund it. Secondly, would be who you're going to engage as an architect, and how you want to move forward in regards to that.
We can have Beth follow up with our attorney, because there's a whole referendum. We can't just spend $3 million of the school's money in the coffer without our constituents having some role.
I know I'm working on end of the year projections still from the 2021 school year. And it looks like we're going to have about $765,000 to put into the building fund from last year.
So here's my question about the referendum. If we need the referendum to build a new school because it's such a large amount of money, do we also need that for the renovations? Because it's almost the same amount of money?
Not sure. We'd have to ask the attorney. But I wouldn't feel comfortable just going and saying we're going to spend $3 million without more input from the constituents.
Right. No, I don't think we're. Is it feasible to get the attorney's input before the retreat?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
he's pretty
I don't know if
fast.
we need a motion, but can we move it to table for the retreat and talk about it?
It's just a no action item. That's just information only.
Right, but it's on the agenda for the retreat, so if we had that information, as long as we have that information by.
We just need to know all of the steps, though. Like Cindy's asking, like, what are all the next steps? If we were to move in the direction of remodeling or in replacement, what are all the next steps? Because it's not going to happen at one meeting, or even probably two, or then within the next 6 months.
So maybe he can give us the steps, and we can say based on those steps, maybe this year we'll start, or next year, or not at all. Right? Like, we just need to know the steps first before we can even go any further.
Yeah.
I'll follow up with John.
Thank you, Beth.
You bet.
Hey, Joel, will you forward the entire board the actual assessment document and not just the memo that was in board docs?
I can do that, yes.
And Joel, thank you for doing all this.
Not a problem. It was nice to meet Lauren and get to know her a little bit in regards to possibly working with her in the future.
Moving on to 6.16, consider Bayfield Rec Center assessment.
There again, this is more information. I know that I brought this up in the past in regards to the 2005 assessment that was done on the rec center, and there was a lot of things that were identified then, and we haven't moved forward on, or this district hasn't moved forward on any of those items either. But one thing that is in need of being addressed is the siding. Lapino did make some repairs this spring, and I think I mentioned that in the past, and there's some deterioration going on behind the siding, and that's why you have such a broad number in regards to that because of the unknown when the siding, when you do decide to replace that or whatever we're going to do with that facility, that there's possibly some deterioration underneath that siding that will need to be addressed at that point in time.
Is this the school district's sole responsibility for that?
I don't know.
Yes.
Or is it the rec center part too?
Well, we're the owners of the facility. Anything that major like that is I'm almost certain on the district. It doesn't reflect anything like that in the lease agreement that they would be responsible for anything of that nature.
Do you have a timeline, Joel, for when this would have to get done? Because it's already deteriorating.
Well, I'm sure we could probably get through until the next spring, but I just want it to make you aware that this is monies that we better plan on spending on this facility. So we can make sure it gets budgeted.
Well, it's potentially more money that we're going to put into the siding than the building is even worth, which is scary.
Well,
I think that's the conversation.
Then that brings about another conversation then. That's the reason, that's the reason I bring this information to you folks, is so we can stimulate these conversations and ultimately make a decision, hopefully.
At the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting where we asked for this assessment to be done, we also spoke about an assessment of the air quality or possible mold.
Yeah.
Is there anything on that?
I'm working on getting that person into the facility. There,
Okay.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of places that are looking for that type of that information.
Oh, I believe it.
Right. And are we making any progress with that rental agreement or the agreement between the rec center board and then the district? Can you
In
just,
regards to,
well, what it's current, but weren't we gonna look at that and adjust it or talk about putting it out for a bid?
Talk about at the retreat.
Okay.
Okay,
So that's fine.
thank you, Joel.
thank you.
All right, no action. We have a number of items in executive session in accordance with Wisconsin statute 19.85. We have staff assignment and transfer, special education teacher, human resources generalist, 4 elementary co-teachers and 6 paraprofessionals.
Motion go in executive.
Second.
We have a motion by Cindy and a second by Esme. Can we have a roll call, please, Linda?
Nicole Boyd,
Yes.
Cindy Garrity,
Yes.
Esme Martinson,
Yes.
Magdalene Dale,
Yes.
Sarah Doe,
Yes.
Steve Sweet,
Yes.
Kelly Benton.
Yes. Motion carries. Beth will meet you